There is a fifth dimension beyond that which is known to man. It is a dimension as vast as space and as timeless as infinity. It is the middle ground between light and shadow, between science and superstition, and it lies between the pit of man's fears and the summit of his knowledge. This is the dimension of imagination. Join Ironside and his guests as they take a walk in the Twilight Zone.
Nice. I like that intro. This is very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, Zach's did a good job on that.
I was wondering. I was like, that sounds like Zach's.
Yeah. Yep, that is. Hey, what's
Jacob,
up?
Jacob, you're muted.
How's it going?
Well, this works better, doesn't it? Does it work better with it when it's unmuted?
I mean, we can hear you when it's unmuted, but if you want to like talk as loud and as crazy as you want, being muted, I guess might be better.
Yeah, okay.
Hey, how's it going, Melvin?
Hey,
Little ninja raccoon just reaching up there, hitting that mute button.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to talk on
bad raccoon, bad.
Do this.
Yes.
That could work too.
Yeah.
Problem is, I live in an apartment complex. If I start yelling too much, my downstairs neighbor will be like, "What are you doing? I'm sorry, I'm not dying. I swear."
You're too nice. I would yell down. I'm ranting about you moron. I would just start a war over it.
Yep. Yeah, nothing to see there. Just piracy going on.
Arg.
Arg. I have my eye patch up here. I'll wear it probably next time, I guess, or if we talk about pirates.
Arg.
And now Dobby is wearing my eye patch. Dobby.
Yes. So, Twilight Zone. Yeah. So, yeah, these episodes were mixed for me.
Very thought-provoking.
Mm-hmm.
The first one was a little odd, especially with the cat lady. The strange cat lady.
I mean, they can't all be classics and hit the ball out of the park every time.
No. But I did like the second one a lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah, the second one though, it just makes you think like what could be beyond death.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you want to get to what you want to actually do these episodes in, but like both of them are very psychological episodes and could be very spiritual episodes in a sense. In that sense, like I've dealt with mental illness in my life, and the first one especially both of them resonate in a certain way, because like the first one is a guy has physical health problems, I have those, and mental health problems, and you have to be careful not to trigger yourself and make your problems worse, which is essentially the theme of the episode. And the second one is we have a tendency to punish ourselves, regardless of the spiritual belief behind that, which is the episode is more in the sense of that what his personal purgatory was, the ship. Regardless of the spiritual belief behind it, we have a tendency to punish ourselves. And I don't know, I think Shieldwall, obviously you were in the military. I don't know about others, but I know a lot of stories I had from my military veteran relatives. There are things they had to do to survive or to fulfill their mission. Like example, and this is why my grandfather's company never would take actual Nazis, the SS guys, as prisoners. They were an advanced scouting patrol, and they constantly would find machine gun nests. And I don't know if you guys remember what the Hitler Youth was. Well, what the adult Nazis would do was take the 12 and 13-year-old, like junior Nazis, chain them to the machine gun nests, and then retreat. Mm-hmm. And these young guys who had their kids of their own had to kill kids to survive. And he said that was one of the few things after the war that he can never reconcile mentally, that, having to do that. And they said that's when we decided we're not taking any actual Nazi prisoner. That just, And
that was a sentiment on every person that was in the Allied forces. SS, you were forfeit.
I remember a friend of mine who was in Afghanistan early on, like in the 2005 era, and they used to do something with like pregnant women and IUDs, right?
Yeah.
And they found out what local organization was doing it, and he said we didn't take any more prisoners with those guys. We know they wanted them for intelligence, but you can't do that these weren't even violent. You know, some there are some jihadist females too, right? These were just women who were grabbing from the local towns, strapping the things on, and having to walk toward the soldiers. You know. So,
yeah. Japanese did that too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm gonna play the. It's actually played at the end of the episode where they give previews for next week. So I'm gonna play the preview for this episode 9.
And now, Mr. Serling.
Next week, we enlist the considerable literary talents of Charles Beaumont and invite you to join us in a strange and shocking dream. Our story is called Perchance to Dream and stars Richard Conte. I hope you'll be able to join next week's excursion into the Twilight Zone. Thank you and good night.
Charles Beaumont has written a lot of short stories. Like I remember I read stuff on his over the years, and I think it's all like sci-fi and some horror stuff. But I want to say he's written at least 30 short stories. Plus, obviously, Twilight Zone, and I think he did another show he did a bunch of stuff on. Oh, you know what his biggest thing I remember him for, though? Vincent Price's movie, The Mask of the Red Death.
I've never seen that one.
Yeah, I'm a big Vincent Price guy. Very. I wish he retired and got old right when he was getting big with his career. You know.
The thing about these episodes, if you'll notice in this first one, except for the background people, they're very limited sets, very limited number of actors that are in the scenes. That have major speaking parts, but you can tell a compelling, complete story with just 4 or 5 people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You don't need, like here. So he's sitting on a busy street, looking up at a building, and you got all these people coming in and out, going through a revolving door, which I think were a lot more common back then than they are now.
Oh yeah, a lot of older movies that I recall have a lot of like those revolving doors.
Because if you notice in the shot, the people are really good at walking through there. Nowadays, if you see a bunch of people trying to go through it, somebody's going to get stuck. For sure.
Somebody's gonna try and get stuck just going around.
It's that rat Barzini.
So so this is the main character, and when the scene opens, you're not sure what he's doing. He's looking up at this building and what's going on. He looks a little disheveled, especially for the time.
Oh yeah, he definitely sticks out as much as you can stick out in a black and white film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So he goes on in, and he looks tired. And somebody actually comes up to him. Yeah, he goes over here, and this guy comes in. Hey, buddy. Nowadays, people just walk past this dude. Nobody would ask him because they think he's going to stab him or something, or he's got fentanyl on him.
Yeah.
So that shows you what a different time it was. Where just some random
people actually had like a little bit of concern.
Right. So he goes up to a doctor's office. He has this really cool font for his office.
Yeah. Reminds me of the Batman the Animated Series.
I was about to say very Art Deco, and that's what they do a lot of for that series.
He comes in, and what I noticed about this scene, this is just me being a weirdo, is look at the art on the walls. Those are behind. It's hard to see, I think, for people here, but those are Chinese prints.
This year,
that and the horses.
Oh, okay.
That's a guy in like a robe, kind of leading a horse around. in the way the watercolor is done. And same with that. Yeah. And the background is almost like maybe Thai or Cambodian or something. But
typewriters in this episode, man. I was
yeah,
like,
and look
most
at the
kids
phone.
nowadays.
The
Yeah,
phone
look
with
at
the intercom switches underneath it.
Mhm.
Yeah. But I guess the point I'm trying to make here is that this doctor's office is not. They tend towards the exotic, especially. You got to remember this episode's what, 59. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
you know, Korea had
Well,
happened.
the interesting
World
thing
War II, had happened.
The interesting question to ask is, with the way they filmed back then, especially, is what else were they using this set for at the time?
Mhm.
Were
That's
they
true.
filming like a really weird episode of like The Naked City or something with Chinese people, actors or whatever?
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
But it just, to me, when you see art like that in a 1950s setting at a doctor's office, that means that the doctor is more open-minded into things, like more cultural.
Yeah.
How about that?
Mhm. They're not just very much a stickler. It's like if I say something to them, they're gonna actually think about it and not just give me a out of the textbook answer.
Right.
Right.
Oh, hey, Zax. What's up?
Hey, sup, Zax?
Yep. Thanks for being here.
Hello.
And Gord King.
Gord.
What's up?
Is this
Sup,
the
Gord?
Robert Pattinson fan zone?
We don't like the sparkly people. Probably wrong, Robert.
Robert Pattinson? I mean, he was good as Cedric Diggory.
He was, but he died.
That's why he was good at it.
Yeah.
So,
So the doctor's like, well, what's wrong with you? You sick? And he's like, no, I haven't slept.
It's like, you are
Like, here,
sick.
you
then.
better lay down.
When you see the doctor's face, you'll probably recognize him. He was the priest in the original Amityville horror movie, and he was Dirty Harry's police chief. I think the first couple of films.
Yeah.
Okay, I can't remember what the character says here, that he hasn't slept in how many hours.
I think it's like
It's
30
4
hours.
days.
It's like
Yeah.
80 something hours.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
over 4 days. Like, yeah, 8
Yeah.
hours.
I really like that transition there when he closes his eyes and there's just like slightly disturbing audio playing.
And
it
the
kinda goes
use
dark.
of light, right?
Yeah.
Use
Mhm.
of lighting, especially with the black and white. That's what they had to work with.
Yeah.
And it works so well as
Right.
a visual manifestation of that right before you fall asleep moment where the world around you starts kind of getting fuzzy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Then he like immediately
Yeah, he's like,
wakes
nope.
up. Hey, Corey.
Yeah, there we go. So then, yeah, he hops up off the couch because he has to explain why he can't sleep.
Yeah.
He says if he falls asleep, he dies.
And Conti is doing a really good job here. So when you're out of it, whether it's from mental illness or you're really tired, you tend not to focus on what's directly in front of you. Like your eyes tend to drift a little. You look away. And if you watch when he's looking at, even when he's normally looking at someone, he's very rarely looking directly at the other actor. He's always kind of looking off in the background, like, you know. So he's showing the effects of being tired and mentally screwed up, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I like what the doctor says. He says to the doc, you don't look like a psychiatrist. And he's like, well, people probably think I got a big white puffy beard.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a German accent.
And then he's
Yep.
like,
I like how
maybe-
he talks about, I could dress up one of these days.
Also, he's like, hey, you're not feeling good? Here, have a cigarette.
yeah, it'll calm you right down.
Got
I
to
like-
a cigarette, you know.
I like what the doctor does. He's like, maybe I should put on a disguise. So he
Yeah.
pulls his glasses out and puts his glasses on. Like Superman.
Yeah, he's like, I'm Clark Kent. Yeah. Yep. If anybody's played Red Dead Redemption 2, you know that, if you need a good pick-me-up, you just have a cigarette, a shot of whiskey, and chew some cocaine gum, and it'll
Yeah.
it'll refill all your cores for your health.
Ah, the good old days.
Yeah.
or tea if you're watching a British movie.
Well, in mild defense of cigarettes in the good old days, like before they were manufactured, they were near as bad for you as they before it became when they started becoming manufactured.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because they
Yeah.
started processing them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's why I stick to cigars.
Before they had all those filters on them.
I just do the French pipe tobacco. Okay, sure.
All right, so yeah, he thinks about leaving.
Yeah. And the doctor's like, you can run, you know. Sometimes that's the best thing you can do is run from it. But this doesn't sound like your problem.
I thought that was pretty profound.
Yeah.
That he said sometimes the best thing to do with a problem is to run from it. Like someone wants to fight you. And you really, it's not a good idea for you to get into that. It's okay to run away, you know. Crazed person on the subway, just get out of there. It's probably, especially these days, probably the best thing to do.
I mean, as we're about to find out, he's kind of just been running the entire time, and he finally stops to explain everything.
And he's had to deal with this his whole life. So this medical condition and and the mental health condition where he gets obsessed over these images in his head. He gets really into it.
Right. So yeah, at this point, he goes on to explain. Look at that city backdrop, pretty cool, but it's obviously just like a canvas behind the window.
Pretty sure I've seen that exact backdrop in several Twilight Zone episodes.
But so anyway, he goes on to explain to the doctor that when he was a child, that if we advance it, it'll show it. He talks about a picture on the wall of a boat, and he's like, when I was a child, my mother, I had a hyper imagination. My mother had a picture and said, if you stand here and stare at this long enough, the ship will move. And obviously, it becomes a hallucin. You know, and if you stand there and look at something long enough, it becomes almost like a not a hallucination, but a what's it called?
Daydream,
mirage.
No, a optical illusion. That's
optical illusion. Yeah.
And
I just wanted to point something out here. You could open the windows in a skyscraper back then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Get some fresh air.
He says he just wants to get some air, and doctor closes it and said, "Why don't we use the air conditioner?"
Right.
Yeah, because he's like, it's a long way down.
You know how bad things used to be with this? This is a true story. I've worked in the hospital organization for like 20 plus years now. And when I first joined, I first asked, like, why are there bars on a lot of the windows? And the dead to rate, the nurse supervisor said to me, we had to stop the patients from jumping out the windows. And I thought, wait a minute, why would you have open windows on the psych ward?
Right.
Yeah, so you get some fresh air. And, you know, so here it is. This is the ship. And he said he had a picture similar to this when he was a kid. He would look at it and then it would move. And then, but the way that his mind worked is that if he had such a good imagination that it would happen all the time, even when he kind of didn't want it to. Yeah. So basically, if he imagined things, it would become real for him. And why it was a problem is that when he was 15, he was diagnosed with a rheumatic fever that affected his heart. Right. And so the doctor said, you can't have any excitement because it could kill you. Which is probably why he's 35 and single. It says it in there. He's 35 and single. Yeah, no excitement or stress. Yeah. So.
If he focuses on anything for too long, it starts to manifest something.
Yeah.
So
the doctor notices he's taking some pills, and I guess it's what would that be called?
It's amphetamines or something.
Some kind of amphetamine.
Boy, it's risky to take any kind of stimulant when you can't even get too excited with a heart condition.
I know.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, wait, you're taking some meth and you have a heart
The doctor's
condition?
like, what? How many of those have you taken? It's like,
exactly.
He's at the point of death anyway. I think it's like, so you can like not only sleep 5 or 6 hours, say in a week, but you have to actually sleep those 5 or 6 hours. Right. But if you don't sleep those 5 or 6 hours, I think it's like between 80 and 100 hours, you just die.
Everything
so
just
then he
stopped.
goes into the story that has to drive this route to and from work, and it's you got to pay attention to what you're doing, or you'll go off the road, and there's like cliffs on the side, so you got to be careful. He's like, so he starts to imagine that there's somebody in the back seat, or actually he read something in the newspaper that somebody was strangled from behind in their car, and it's like he starts thinking that there's somebody in the back seat.
And because his imagination is so vivid.
Yeah. And he's like, tells the doctor in his rational mind that he knows there's nobody back there.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just his imagination.
But does he?
Runs wild.
Hey, Steven, how's it going? Hope you're doing good.
I can kind of sympathize with that feeling. I woke up one night absolutely convinced that there was somebody in the house that was going to try to kill me. And I had to, in order to calm my nerves down, I had to arm myself and clear every single room and the perimeter of the outside of the house. It's just something that's the only time I've had like a midnight panic attack. And I knew it wasn't real, but I had to do it.
Do you live in a house that's older? Maybe it creaks and makes noise.
Well, yeah, and there's road noise around too.
Yeah,
we have a sort of set of primordial instincts that very few of us actually train anymore. Although you probably have at Shieldwall, where even when you're asleep, you can kind of be alert for certain stimuli that indicate danger. And Beard probably was having a dream of something that was triggering that. And so it woke him up with those instincts, and to satisfy those instincts, he had to go clear the place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People don't understand. Like, I joke about this, but we're like almost identical to chimpanzees. Genetically, mentally, we have a little extra, but we're animals. We have instincts that we respond to, and people ignore that to their detriment, and you wind up with so many complicated situations.
Yeah.
Or you can be like me and live in an apartment where the walls are like super paper thin, and like I can hear conversations if it's really quiet. I can hear a conversation that's in like somebody else's apartment, and there have been times I've woken up and I'm like, I hear voices. Yeah. I have completely lost my mind, and it's like, wait, oh no, that's the neighbors.
Yeah.
Well, thankfully, my panic attack didn't lead me into a car wreck like this dude.
Yeah, right. So he had a car wreck, but he didn't get hurt at all. It just scared him.
And if you noticed in the scene, when he discovers somebody's in the back, it's like I thought it was like a kabuki actor or something at first, because of the way the eye makeup was, and you only saw the eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I was tying that because of the Asian art this doctor had in his studio. Yeah.
Well, the first image that came to mind for me was actually Egyptian eyes and like Isis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
And Egyptians have a thing for cats.
That's kind of where I thought it was going.
Well, they have a literal cat goddess in Bastet.
Yeah, that's right. I couldn't remember the goddess.
So he explains to him how he has serialized dreams. So if he goes to sleep, and that when he was younger, he would write the dreams down on a notepad. That's how you know they were serialized. And then, so what that means is he would go to sleep, have a dream, and when he woke up, the dream would end. When he went back to sleep and started dreaming again, the dream would pick up right where it left off, like it was a story or a serial. Like back in the 30s, you would go see Buck Rogers or Flash Gordon at the theater, and every Saturday you went to see the next one. It was like watching a TV show before TV.
Yeah.
I wonder if the writer who wrote this, no, I don't have to wonder. I'm pretty sure he would have known this, given who he is. That's, if you ever heard of the concept of lucid dreaming, that's part of how you train yourself to do it. Is when you wake up, you write down all your dreams, and you get into the habit of remembering your dreams, and then eventually, in theory, you start interacting with some of them.
Well, we were talking backstage about this aspect of it, and then a couple of us indicated that while we were having a dream, you could realize during the dream that you're in a dream. So like, say something stressful was happening, I was having like kind of like a not so good dream, I would have, oh wait, I'm in a dream, this isn't real, it's not really a thing, and then I'd feel better about it, and then I would just go on with my dream of go do whatever dreams do. You know, they move on to whatever the next thing is, the weird stuff or whatever. So,
Yeah.
but
I
to be
had
able
a-
to
I had a-
actively take control of it, yeah.
I had a dream that Saruman walked into my room.
Wow, that's something.
Ah.
I have the most boring
I
dreams where I
probably-
wake up and go about my day, and then I wake up and realize I still have to go about my day.
Right?
Oh, those
Oh.
are the worst.
Oh,
Is
I hate
when
them.
when you have a dream about work, like you're
Mm-hmm.
trying to figure stuff out at work, and then you wake up and you feel like you've been at work while you were asleep. Yeah,
And then you realize you're late for work.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
No, I've had a dream where I thought, like in the dream, I was late for work, and then when I woke up in a panic, like, I'm late, and it was a Saturday.
No.
I don't work on
That's
Saturdays.
funny. So his next dream is a nightmarish theme park or whatever, carny rides and stuff. And there's like nobody in this park except the
Yep.
carnies. That would be a nightmare, wouldn't it?
I have this weird one that I'm still in the Air Force, but I'm retired, but I still go in to work anyway. And I'm doing stuff, but if they find out I'm not active duty anymore, I'll get in trouble. It's weird. I don't know why. Because you're not authorized to go out and work on airplanes or whatever. And yeah, it's really, really weird.
This is a weird shooting gallery design.
Yeah, I think I've seen ones that have it's the spiral thing, and it's supposed to throw you off,
Okay.
kind of hypnotize you or whatever.
Well, if that's actually spinning and you're trying to aim, say at the center, it will actually mess with your aim.
Okay.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so, because it'll throw you off. So yeah, it's just a little fun park
Because as it
scam.
spirals, the lines shift because of the rotation.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, regardless, it is fitting for kind of a altered reality sort of story that he's telling.
and you notice his clothes changed. So you got this guy in his like 1900s looking stuff. It's got a
And
weird
I
little
love
hat.
how Sterling comes very close to saying it's a strip show without being a strip show. We're about to get.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Maya the
Yeah.
cat lady. Yeah.
Let's take the family to the carnival. Dad's going to go look at things.
Yeah.
Dad's gonna look at cat girls. So,
Yep.
It's gonna take a look at the cat girls. Oh, kitties? No, not those kitties.
Ah.
You would think that would not have been his reaction to seeing a pretty lady. He's just
I would
You know,
run
I know
for
it's
this
a
cat
trope.
lady too. Run away.
I know it's a trope, but I love the Dutch angles in these old shows.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially this was I don't think it was prime time. It was maybe a little bit later at night on when it aired, but for the back then this would have been racy.
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah.
that was could have
she was showing some legs.
Yeah, exactly. She might as well have been naked.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So he's like freaks out and runs away, and she
It's a lady.
this maniacal laughter at him.
That's the reason why he's still single at
But
35.
see, look, he's wearing like the Tony Montana like get up here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He's got the collars aren't as big, but he's got the pop collar, no tie, Yeah.
I mean, if getting excited could kill him,
That is
running
true.
away might be the better option there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the whole point is that he can't get excited, but
Well-
he wants to be.
Here's the interesting thing, though, in the psychology of what we're seeing here. This is his inner self telling him you can get excited because it's not real. If you if you know it's not real and you know it can't hurt you, you should be okay getting excited in here. It's a safe place to do it.
Mhm.
He can't accept that message. If you think about how this ends, we're not there yet. He can't accept that message, so he basically,
Runs from it.
Because it really should be like it's his dreams. Like he should be able to just relax and let loose, and it does the opposite. He's like, I know it's a dream, which means I'm gonna die.
Rowan, don't do
Rowan,
that.
I had
Don't
a
do
Navy
that.
guy
Don't
told me
tell
what
that.
kind of check you have to do. I won't say it here.
So now she's changed clothes, so she's a
Yeah.
little more less
Risky.
forward, I guess. Yeah, risque. Yeah,
It's risque, a little bit more elegant, but still kind of definitely not normal because that's very sparkly, formal sort of get up.
And it should, so people don't get the reference. I don't remember exactly where it is in Hamlet, but this is in the to be or not to be thing in Hamlet. And it's the line is something like to sleep, perchance to dream. It's his parents' soliloquy about to be or not to be. You know. So that provides some interesting context on the story too.
Her eyeliner is on point, by the way.
I was
Wish
just
I could
going to
get my
say,
eyeliner like that.
not to sound a little bit, it's not really crude, but she's a knockout. Let's just admit it.
Yeah.
I wish I could get my eyeliner on point. That's why I don't wear eyeliner anymore. I'm just like, I
has
can stab myself in the eye.
the classic pinup physique. You know. Yeah.
That's good casting for kind of like an unintentional femme fatale.
In the credits, it said featuring her, so I don't think she was you know what I mean, like a big name or anything like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, she never had any. I mean, if you watch enough stuff, I think she did about 20 or 30 things. Like I'll look it up now, just because I want to go crazy. But she was in like the Zorro, a couple episodes, of Gunsmoke and things like that. She wasn't like a
I thought
big
she
actor.
looked familiar. That's probably where I've seen her from is Gunsmoke.
And she was in a
Yeah,
couple
probably.
episodes of The Saint. Remember Roger Moore's The Saint TV show?
Yeah.
So she asked them to go inside the tent, and they go in there, and it's like a really bad horror
Fun
kind
house.
of fun
Yeah.
house.
Horror
Yeah.
house.
Yeah.
And bad is not scary, like in terrible props that are crappy. Like
Some of those props, I was just like, man, if this is what people thought was scary back then, woo, I would hate to
And
see what they do with some of the stuff.
There's a line right there. She says, "We've been expecting you," and he's like, "What?" And then she just moves on and never addresses it again.
Right?
Yeah.
And to me, that's a callback to when he walked into the mental office. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So this,
because that's what the secretary says is we've been expecting you.
Yeah, you're
symbolically right now. This is him not being able to accept his inner mind telling him he can relax in his dreams. So he's waking up from the dream. You know what I mean? Not being able to accept his inner mind telling him he can relax in the dream. He's avoiding. He's getting out of that because he'd have to accept that if he stayed there.
Just think if he had accepted.
Right. Now he keeps telling in the story that she wants to go on the roller coaster now. And he can't do that in his normal life because it's too exciting and it's too hard for his heart.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that's like his actual, like she represents his inner psyche saying, hey, you are thinking about this way too much. Like, calm the heck down. You're going to kill yourself.
As somebody who overthinks things constantly, I can relate to that.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, they don't lock down my dreams like his, but still.
Yeah, she's telling him to jump.
I don't know where Roman's getting the naked part, but okay. I'm guessing that in his dream, that's what would be going on.
Probably. That I wouldn't want to ride on a roller coaster, though. That would be uncomfortable.
Yeah, but gonna air you out real good.
So he's like, you can't help me, Doc.
Yeah. It's like
Doc hasn't said like hardly like 2 words.
That's what psychiatrists do. They just listen and nod.
How does
that
that
make you feel?
But yeah, I mean, I think they both realize that nothing can happen here. because the doctor can only say so much if he's not ready to listen to what needs to happen, and it's pretty clear that he's not.
Yeah, but Gourd King, you're so tasty as a pie.
Yeah, man.
I'm so excited for next week because I have my doctor's appointment, and hopefully my doctor will say I can have caffeine again. And if that's the case, I'm going to do the basic white chick thing and get a pumpkin spice latte because I hate them. But you know what? 'Tis the season.
Yeah, this is Copa. 87 hours with
Copa.
no sleep.
In Copa, you can't see below my chest, so you don't know if I'm fully clothed.
Oh.
Wait, you're clothed below the waist?
Don't stand up.
Matt hasn't had pants on in 5 years.
What's our pants?
Like, you don't even know what, if I exist, I could be a robot down there.
Exactly. Yeah.
That is true.
He's like the guy from the Wild Wild West movie. He's got a spider legs. Yeah.
So it goes out.
Yeah.
And
then he sees the woman of his dreams.
Actually, this freaks him out because it's the chick from the dream.
Mm-hmm.
And before he said he doesn't know who she is. Maybe she's somebody he's seen on the street. But what's weird is he looks at her when he comes in the office. So why he doesn't make the connection then?
I'll tell you my theory after we have the end of after he yeets himself out the window.
And that rat Barzini gets what he deserves.
That rat.
Yeah.
And earlier he said kind of like dismissively, do you think I'm going to jump to the doctor when he shut the window?
Right.
Yep.
Doesn't matter if it's closed or not.
I don't think that glass was tempered either.
No.
I don't think so.
And
I'd be curious. I have a feeling
look, it's not even him. They couldn't even get a guy that remotely looks like him. The guy looks even smaller. He looks like a little person.
That's okay.
I'd be curious if they even showed us the secretary's face in the beginning.
They didn't.
So no, they didn't. But here's my theory. After we realize a little bit further after this, I'll tell you my theory.
I bet I had the same thought as you.
So she's like, "Hey, can you come in here? Because this guy's dead."
That is just such a calm reaction.
This is hilarious. I work in a hospital setting where I've been around when they accidentally find patients dead, and this is not the reaction the doctor is supposed to have.
Well, I mean, like, what's he gonna do? He's like on the 16th floor or something. It's like he just laid down and he's dead. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, you could, holler while you're doing CPR. A nurse, call an ambulance.
It's 1959. Did they know how to do CPR back then? Well,
I think so.
I don't think your average layperson even knew what it was.
Well, he's a medical doctor. He should
know.
He should know something about it.
And this is back when they would, send you home, tell you to smoke a pack of cigarettes and take some whiskey.
Yeah,
I mean, he definitely did approach that situation
Trust me,
that. Was the third one of the week. Just like, dang it,
another one of these guys. Damn it.
So what he says is the guy came in, said he was tired, wanted to talk, laid down, and immediately went to sleep, and then never woke up.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So when he laid down, he did go to sleep, but when he pops up in the scene, that's in his dream already.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So this whole
That's
episode.
why I said it was. If you listen to what I said, this is him in his dream, not being able to accept in his dream that he had to relax. He was running. Yeah.
He had a dream within a dream. So my theory on why on the woman that he says that he saw in his other dreams, I don't think that was the same person he saw in his other dreams. I think that as he was trying to remember back to his dream within this dream, he put her face to that person that was talking him through the roller coaster carnival thing. I think when he walked in, he saw the secretary, and then when he fell asleep, and then woke up.
Her face in the dream.
Mm-hmm.
And he was already half asleep walking in there.
Yeah. there's even the possibility that whatever was happening to him before he laid down wasn't what he explained in his dream.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
It was everything after he pops up from the table or the couch. That's all in the dream, so you can't really trust any of it as being that could just be in his head or literally was. Whereas everything he says to him before he lays down on the couch, that's all true stuff.
He could have had any number of issues that was keeping him awake or even just stressed out. And because I can't remember, he doesn't say anything about having to stay, how long he stays awake till after he lays down and then pops back up.
He's literally the lights go down on him and come back up. He's asleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Immediately.
So
he lays down.
of that, he is a completely unreliable narrator.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was that one. Actually, the cat lady reminded me of Catwoman on the old Catwoman or old Batman series.
Yeah.
Oh, Eartha Kitt?
Yeah.
Any of them.
Yeah.
Well, Julie Newmar looked a little... Well, technically she looked more like... The actress looked more like Julie Newmar, but the makeup looked more like Eartha Kitt.
Yeah.
I mean, they were both hot as hell, so it's not like we had...
Yeah.
Overall, this was an interesting, thought-provoking episode.
Yeah, it was.
Well, it kind of makes this is going to be kind of gross or whatnot, but it kind of makes me wonder about some of those dreams. And I'm sure every single person has done this, where in their dream, they feel like they need to go to the bathroom and they think that they have gone to the bathroom and are using the bathroom, but they are actually still asleep. I wonder, if it's that kind of lucid dreaming, because everyone's done it. Don't you deny you've done it before?
I had a dream one time I was scuba diving and I ran out of air and went to the top and was, paddling on the top and sharks came up and bit my feet off. Oh. And then I woke up and my feet were asleep.
Jacob, I'm going to link the Hamlet's, the soliloquy with the Perchance the Dream in it. Maybe you can drop it for the audience and they're curious about it.
Yeah, okay.
I hope everyone's read Hamlet, but if you haven't, it's funny enough, this is the same soliloquy with that Star Trek 60 Undiscovered Country references.
Who wants to read a book about a little pig?
Oh.
There we go.
But don't you all deny it. You've done it before. Everyone's done it. I'm not the only one.
Let me, not leave you hanging out there. I have several times woke up in the middle of the night in a panic and done a check. Just be like, am I a 40-year-old man that just peed myself in the middle of the night? No, thankfully it hasn't happened yet. I've probably got 20 years till I have to worry about that. But I have had the dream and woken up in a cold sweat thinking, oh no.
Yeah, there's been a couple times I'm like, oh no. Well, and then I immediately run.
It's happened once or twice when I was in my 30s. I had a very vivid dream where I went to the bed, urinated, and it turned out I did.
I've done that as well.
Scored.
Actually, I've had dreams a couple times where I woke up hollering, it's weird, and I couldn't even remember what the dream was about. So
I'm told as a kid I had night terrors and I never knew it.
Yeah,
I'd just be laying in bed, semi-asleep, screaming, scaring my parents to death.
Just had
I used to, I guess when
imaginations. That's what we all have.
I used to do when I was really young. I guess I grew out of it at some point in time. But I used to do night. I used to be a sleepwalker. And one time, my mom said that she was glad that she locked the door because apparently I was walking and I'd walked to the front door and I tried to open it, and instead I started trying to dig underneath the door to get out of the house. And she looks. She's like, what?
What are you doing?
And then I just get up and I walk back to my room and I go back into my bed, and I didn't have any recollection of this happening at all.
Kids do weird things. And I know my grandmother used to think it was tied to what you ate before you went to sleep. If you eat this, you're going to sleepwalk. If you eat this, you're going to have nightmares. So don't eat this before, so many an hour before or whatever.
If you eat peas, you might wet the bed.
I read up a bunch on it, and like they don't 100% know, but they think it's dreams are a side effect of your short-term memory being transferred to your long-term memories.
Oh, it's like a download.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
Because that happens when you sleep. If you didn't know that, like you have a short-term memory and a long-term memory and some other type of memory, and your short-term only gets transferred to your long-term memory when you sleep. Yeah, my favorite dream, which was about math, funny enough, I was taking on Calc 3 or 4 or something years ago, and I had this one problem I couldn't figure out for a week, and I had a dream about it, and I woke up and solved it.
Have you ever been in the state where you're between awake and asleep right before you fall asleep? So you're just kind of in that in between, and you'll like be thinking about something about work or whatever, and you'll like, I have the solution, but then you'll wake up and be like, oh, I can't remember it, or you'll fall asleep and wake up. Yeah, there's that point where your brain is working at a certain level, and you're like, I got it, but then when you go to wake up, you can't remember it.
Yep, right. I've done that so many times. Yeah. It's so frustrating.
Or I've had dreams, and when I figured something out, then woken up and I was like, that's not going to work.
Yeah, there is another episode, Roman. It's a pretty good one.
Hey, Ian. That's my nephew.
Hello.
This one was called the what the hell is it called?
Judgment Night.
Judgment Night.
The Judgment. Okay, yeah.
And I have a clip for it, so we'll play that clip.
All right.
And now, Mr. Serling.
Once upon a time, there was a ship sailing from Liverpool, England to New York. It never got there, and one man on board knew why. Next week, we tell this man's story. The distinguished actor Nehemiah Persoff plays the role of Karl Lancer, a haunted man in a haunting story called Judgment Night. This ship sails next week, and we hope you'll see it off. Thank you, and good night.
Such a great talk show, like, voice. Just
it does look like he carries his dip in his upper lip, though.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I forgot to ask for the episode. Did you want to read his opening narration for this?
We're
just got to dive in.
Oh, yeah, you can. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I just thought because it gives kind of a good synopsis of everything going in. I'm not going to try to mimic him because that's just, I would fail. That's disrespectful. Let's see. Her name is the SS Queen of Glasgow. Her registry, British. Gross tonnage, 5,000. Age, indeterminate. At this moment, she's one day out of Liverpool. Her destination, New York. Duly recorded on this ship's log is the sailing time, course to destination, weather conditions, temperature, longitude, and latitude. But what is never recorded in a log is the fear that washes over a deck like fog and ocean spray. Fear like the throbbing strokes of engine pistons, each like a heartbeat, parceling out every hour into breathless minutes of watching, waiting, and dreading. For the year is 1942, and this particular ship has lost its convoy. It travels alone, like an aged, blind thing, groping through the unfriendly dark, stalked by unseen periscopes of steel killers. Yes, the Queen of Glasgow is a frightened ship, and she carries with her a premonition of death.
Awesome.
So I always like those.
Thanks. Yeah, so, they're good.
To put this in some historic context, so people who because we were talking about another stream the other day, we're so far beyond World War II that people necessarily get it. But the U.S. involvement in World War II was several years of supplying Europe and China and Russia against the assaults against them before we got directly military involved at Pearl Harbor. And one of the things that was it was weird because you'll see the word Kriegsmarine. That's the German Navy, Kriegsmarine. And the Germans wanted, like, they wouldn't intercept American ships transporting stuff, but they would try to intercept like British or French ships because they knew if they hit an American ship, it was going to draw the U.S. into the war, right? Mm-hmm. So, and then there was the whole thing about like the German military. I mean, let's be very clear about this. Obviously, Germany were the bad guys in World War II, right? But the German military and the German people were nowhere near as bad as the Japanese military or the actual Nazis, like the actual SS. and they had just were professional military for generations, fighting a war. And initially, a lot of them didn't even know about the atrocities, and there were a lot of like plots, like Rommel tried to kill Hitler and got himself killed, and all that sort of stuff. So the German military did not want to be shooting civilian ships down. They didn't want to be killing innocent people. The Nazi command authority was like, just kill everyone, you know?
So, yeah, the German Navy did not like the Nazis.
Yeah.
But they
there was
still
a point,
fought for them.
Like there was a point in military evolution that happened sometime after, well, it was out of Germany, actually, because Karl von Clausewitz wrote a book called On War, and there was another general called Jurgens at the time. These were the early 1800s. And war shifted from being something where you wage against the civilian population directly to something where you try to avoid that. Like, yes, you just, like, the point is, you don't want to tick off the people you're going to conquer, right? So that was a big point of that message. Yeah. You still wage all out war, but you don't round up everyone and execute them. So there was a big shift towards attacking the actual enemy's infrastructure from the 1800s forward, and the Geneva Conventions came in, and all sorts of stuff like that. And so war started to become more. The population became like more abstracted from war. Like, it's kind of funny about the U.S. Civil War. When they would have battles, there'll be areas off to the side where both sides would never attack, where civilians would set up like picnics to watch the fight.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Crazy. So, and it's just a really weird historical transition, and that kind of leads into the subtext of what happened in this episode.
Okay.
Cool. Nice. There's something interesting about Nehemiah. First off, the
Papa Mouskowitz.
What is it?
Papa Mouskowitz from American Tail.
Oh.
He's made a lot of other stuff, but he's the one most people will remember.
Yeah, he plays the main character, but he married. His wife served as a nurse in the Palmach, the elite fighting force of the Haganah during the Arab-Israeli War.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting little tidbit there. So here we go. So there he is.
Honestly, that looks like young Dave Bautista without muscles.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit, yeah.
For a second, I thought he was the Captain Nemo guy from the Disney movie.
Oh,
yeah.
He's a familiar enough face that you've seen him. If you watch, I mean, he's passed away or whatever now, but if you've seen enough stuff over the years, TV Hawaii 5-0, Little House on the Prairie, war movies, the Untouchables. He was in at least 3 or 4 episodes of The Untouchables, of different characters. I'm trying to remember the Time Tunnel. Yeah, I remember that. That's a really cool sci-fi show from the 70s or 60s. He was in that, at least 1 or 2 episodes of that. You see these guys' faces, and you're like, "Oh, I remember from that and that and that and that and that." You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah. So like the guy's like, "Hey, put the lights out down there."
Yeah.
So the guy's like, does that?
Yeah, one of the worst things that could happen is if you're being hunted by a submarine at night, is to have any kind of light. And you'd be surprised, even a candle light could be seen 50 miles away on a clear night.
I mean, even in fog, you might not see the point of light, but you would see illumination of some kind.
Right.
I mean, the submarines could hear the ship, but don't make it easy for them and turn the light on.
I love the atmosphere that they set for all that out there.
Yeah.
So,
and this nice touch that I had never even thought about is having either an automatic switch or having somebody turn the light off every time you open the door.
It had to be a switch on the door because there's an instance where the lights go off and come back on with one person coming through the door and there's nobody else in the room or anything. So,
see, I was wondering what that was. I was like, why are the lights randomly just turning off and on?
So it's for the light discipline so that light doesn't come out the door.
It's interesting. Either the writer or the director was aware of this was an actual practice.
Well, even
Not like
civilians that lived
nowadays videos.
the war, like if you were, they did it on the West Coast and stuff too, because they were afraid the Japanese were going to invade for a while there.
The raccoons are here.
Uh-oh.
2 little baby ones on the porch.
Oh,
Aww.
I thought you meant your internet was going out.
No.
The internet raccoons, not actual raccoons.
So
it's a trap, Jacob. They're trying to lure you out.
People of 1959 would be aware of what the blackout stuff was, because it wasn't that long ago, 15 years, maybe 14 years since the end of the war. So,
yeah, it makes perfect sense. It's just something I'd never considered.
Yeah. So it's just little bits here that they focus on the doll. There's the doll. He picks the doll up for a little girl.
I like that.
For later.
What weirded me out about this scene is they're like, "Hey, come on over. You must be the new guy. We're wanting to meet you and all this." And they're like, "Come sit down at this table." And I'm like, they've got like 4 or 5 other empty tables. Why are they all crammed into this one table? But I think it's for the shot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But,
well, in old style, actually socializing as opposed to these days.
And this guy's kind of a
So just real quick, is it just me that doesn't see this? I've got a black screen.
I've also got a black screen.
You have a black screen?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
I don't know.
All right. Hey, later, Cajun. Have a good one.
Yeah, later, Cajun. See you. Let me
you just thought it was baby raccoons. Mama was out there messing with you somehow.
They were messing with me.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's like, babies, go distract him while I do the real work.
Share screen.
I just wanted to make sure. I didn't want it to keep going.
Oh, no.
I mean, I would have just been just like, okay, it's fine.
There we go.
Better?
There we go.
There
yes.
we go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have the screen over so I can't see. So if it goes black again, let me know. So yeah, this guy here is they kind of make him out to be kind of a snoop, because he's guessing what the passengers look like, for reading their names or whatever.
I kind of took him as like that overly friendly guy you might sit on next to an airplane, or a train. You just want, or even like a taxi, if somebody wants to share and they want to talk, or even your Uber driver that wants to get to know you. It's like, no, I'm just here for a cup of coffee, or I'm just going someplace. I didn't take him
here on a mission. Kind of
malicious.
Leave me alone.
He's
he wasn't malicious. Just
thematically, why he's so nosy is so you get to know the character as it
yes,
is.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
right.
Yeah, there are people that are like this guy,
like planes, trains, and automobiles.
Yeah, this is the guy I'm thinking of. He's been in a lot of character roles in various movies and TV shows as well. So
a lot of the people in this have.
Yeah. Well, the most recognizable one will be coming up in one of the next scenes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everything about this main guy has been off-putting. You can tell he's uncomfortable in everything for some reason, and even in introductions with the other people, he just kind of disregards them with the face of confusion. He doesn't quite know how to process human interaction or where he is.
And he's trying to think what he knows his name. He knows that he was born in Frankfurt, Germany.
Yeah,
that's all he knows. He can't
these questions, right? They all introduce themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the captain comes in, and he's been in some things too. I just can't place what.
Yeah, and they're talking about the fog and where if they can see their convoy, and he says something like they could be 5 feet off the bow and we wouldn't see them.
Right. It's like this fog is so thick, who knows?
And
for them, it's all kind of just run of the mill conversation.
And the main character is he knows the tactics of a submarine captain.
Right. The guy that was talking to him before was like, "Oh, Captain, when do you think we'll catch up with the convoy?" And because we're out here by ourselves and the wolf pack's going to get us. And then this guy says, "Oh, the wolf packs wouldn't go after a normal ship. They're designed to go after the convoy. They're convoy killers." And the captain's looking at him like, wow, you know quite a bit about, submarines and stuff. And that's where they're like,
he said something like along the lines of, you sound a bit like you would make a good commander.
right.
Mm-hmm.
And that rattles him.
And that's when they ask, like, where are you from? And he's like, I'm from Frankfurt. So you got a German dude on a ship. And the secretary, the woman sergeant, she asks him, well, how long have you lived in England? And he's like, well, where are you going? From your home or to home? And he says, I'm going from my home. And I was born in Frankfurt. And then how long were you in England? And he says, not long at all, like very short amount of time.
Yeah.
So I was thinking at the time, maybe they were thinking he's like a spy or something or something along those lines.
I was thinking like he's some undercover Nazi operative. And he's like, oh, I personally, when I first saw this, I was like, oh, he thinks he's probably on the wrong boat or something, but he is a like undercover Nazi and he's trying to figure out the best way to keep his cover intact.
Yeah, years ago when I first saw this, I thought this was some sort of scheme to get intelligence from him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I don't think a German spy would say, yeah, I was born in Frankfurt. Okay.
Yeah, at first I was kind of thinking it was like he was maybe not involved and just trying to get out because he didn't want to be involved, and everybody was going to turn on somebody who was mainly innocent.
Right.
So the captain. I'll point this out. The captain says it's almost like you were a U-boat captain, and he drops his coffee on himself.
Yeah, because the way that they treat him isn't like, hey, you're some enemy guy or whatever. They're just like, oh, so you're just going to New York too, okay?
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like nobody treats him like, oh, you're a dirty German or something.
I mean, I like this from the Captain America: The First Avenger. The kind of doctor guy says, well, the Nazis invaded Germany first. And that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, there were a lot of Germans that escaped as the Nazis were coming to power.
Because they realized that what was happening was not okay. And so they were like, I am getting the heck out of here.
Einstein was one of them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I knew an old lady who was pulled out of school and they ran on foot out of Germany.
Wow.
Well, Germans were exiting Germany even in the 1920s because at the arguably the reason the National Socialists of Germany, that's not stands for, were able to take power was because after World War I, they didn't listen to the United States, and the countries of Europe started punishing Germany economically, so they never recovered economically. The Weimar Republic failed, democracy, and so the people turned to the socialists, the National Socialists, and led to Nazi Germany.
Yeah.
Right. The same thing happened in Italy too. The effects of the war being so, because Austria-Hungary ceased to exist and Italy paid a huge amount in people and blood and treasure to try to be on the winning side of that and defend their areas, fighting in the Alps and stuff, that it made the whole country unstable. And when you had these unstable countries, especially the Weimar Republic, had such high inflation that you needed like wheelbarrows of money just to buy bread. So that's how you usher a lot of these other people into power, especially if they have ideologies that will quick fix it for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right before he exits the table there, isn't that the point where they're asking him a little bit more about himself? And he says, he's from Frankfurt. And he says, I was in, and he kind of like locks up.
Right.
He's saying I was in something, but he can't remember.
Yeah, he's having a hard time remembering stuff. So you start to get that this is the way he acts the entire time since you meet the character. He's like a weird dude.
Mm-hmm. It's like he's seen a ghost or something.
Right.
Yeah. And he recognizes people too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love these exterior shots.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She looked familiar, like she had been in something when she's older, but I didn't see who she was in the credits, because after the episode wanted to go to the next one. I hate it when it does that. So you can't really see the credits, and then I had other stuff to do, so I didn't kind of mess with it. But
I'm gonna look her up while we're talking.
yeah, she looks
thanks.
familiar somehow.
Did anyone else get the feeling here whenever he called her over and she said something about the chill, that she was kind of suggesting that, like the trope of like, oh, will you lend me your jacket? And he just kind of goes, yes, it is, and pulls it closer, like on himself.
See, I wasn't even thinking that until you just pointed it out. I was thinking that she was.
I mean, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but that's a trope that you would kind of expect in a situation like this. And it might fit, it might be intentional because he's acting nothing like you would expect.
Yeah, he's acting suspicious. So yeah, that would just play into more suspicion.
Her name is Deidre Owens. She's done a lot of like bit roles. Again, in Thriller, which is another TV anthology show. One Step Beyond, another show like this. You know. Plus other sort of like I guess in the 70s, you know, from Dr. Kildare and then Ben Casey. I remember Ben Casey. I liked that show when I was a kid. You know.
Okay, so I've probably seen her in some other episode then.
Yeah.
Well, one thing is that the reason that he might not have done that is she's wearing a uniform, so he didn't want to treat her like, kind of in a way when guys do that. Yeah, it's the right thing to do, but also, you know, it's like, hey, maybe we can like strike up a relationship here or something.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? And so he's not really like into that. Plus, you know, she's got wool on. She's fine.
Yeah.
It's like, there's a boat out there. It's out there.
Right. So he just somehow he knows that there's a U-boat out there following him around.
Yeah.
And
he
also
kind of plays it off as paranoia and says he needs to go to sleep.
Also, he's not worried about getting torpedoed. Because I think he's already talked about that at this point, is that they'll just surface and get the deck gun, and because they're a defenseless ship, and they'll just sink it with the deck gun, which was what a lot of submarines did.
Yeah.
If they wouldn't waste a torpedo on especially a ship that they could easily sink with just a deck gun, with it wouldn't be no danger to themselves.
Right. They want to minimize expenditure energy.
Right, because you can get more tonnage kills if you conserve your torpedoes. If you can just use your deck guns to kill.
It's more assured to land hits. It just
Right.
So the second in command comes and takes it. The captain wants to see him. So they go.
And the biggest star of the show, so to speak.
Yeah. Wait till we get a good shot of him. So they're just going to ask him some more questions about who he is and where he's from. They want to see his passport.
Oh yeah. Because
like,
his
is
name
reasonable.
is on the manifest, but his passport wasn't recorded.
Yeah, no passport number. And then, so they have a legit reason to look at it, not just because he's a German dude that's acting weird. And then he's like, oh, I forgot my wallet in my room. And then instead of being like, hey, go down there and get it right now, they were like, well, the next couple of days, if you remember, just go ahead and bring it up.
I mean, where's he going to go?
Go anywhere.
Right, exactly.
So
like where is he going to go? He's going to jump off the ship. Why? Because they want my passport.
Oh yeah, this
I'll get a better picture of him.
Isn't he? He's from 007, right?
Patrick,
he was in one.
The Avengers.
The Avengers. He was in. What was it?
He was in everything.
Did he play M or something in one of the Bond movies?
Yeah, he played M. Was it M?
Yeah, that's where he's from. Yep, like one of the 60s or 70s.
Well, it was in A View to a Kill. I remember that much. I don't remember what role he played in that one.
A View to a Kill. Wow, that was 85.
Yeah. Oh, this guy was in. Actually, his most famous role to me is in the real Battlestar Galactica, Count Iblis, and the voice of the Cylon leader.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the thing with the glass egghead.
Yeah.
Huh.
Well, the eventual backstory of that is that they were going to reveal that Count Iblis was the one who turned the robot silent against their humanoid creators.
Mhm.
So this guy, steward or something, has helped him unpack, and he finds a German U-boat captain's cap.
He just assumes without nothing. He just says a souvenir from the war.
A souvenir.
Yeah, and again, that's just it. There's just like souvenir from the war. It's like this dude's born in Frankfurt. What kind of souvenir would he have from the And that's when he looks in. Oh, and that's his last name is Mr. Lanzer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is when he's like, wait, holy crap! This is how I know so much about submarines. Is that this hat belongs to me? See, so now he's got and they do a thing with the light.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's hard to see with these stills, but again, very good use of light.
And right when the scene enters that room, by the way, he's kind of flipping through his suitcase, and he doesn't look like he's unpacking. He looks like he's looking for his passport, almost like he's trying to find answers for himself
or any kind of information.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he finds that information in the hat.
So the ship starts having an engine. He wants the ship to go faster, but it'll make the engine go out.
Yeah, it'll seize up because it needed to be overhauled like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Right. So either they can slow down and conserve the engine and get caught by the U-boat, or they can go fast, and he needs it for 12 hours, but if it'll only last 2, and then it'll seize up, and then they're totally screwed and can't, it won't run anymore at all.
And of course, they also are talking about the engine. He hears the engine, and it sounds like it's struggling. Mm-hmm. So that would I thought, well, that's like a dinner bell to the wolf pack.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's an interesting touch to have Lancer be the one to mention that, seeing as it being in a submarine, they would hear.
Yeah, that's how they would have found it.
They would hear everything.
Yeah.
Well, they had passive sonar back then. I don't think they're active yet. So
right.
It would have been whatever's echoing in the water. They wouldn't able to specifically target it.
Right, but I mean, if your engine is making bad noises because it's about to go out, it's like a wounded fish splashing in the water.
Yeah, this is where he notices that the engine is stopped.
Mm-hmm.
Or is acting weird, and then it stops, and then he's like, "Uh-oh!" And
the
also,
bartender just like, eh.
He's like 115, something about 115. Also, when he had that conversation with the secretary on the deck, he's like, "Have you ever been in a situation where you feel like you're reliving something?" She's like, "Oh yeah, it's deja vu. It happens all the time." And that's what he explained to her. He's kind of feeling like. He can't remember anything. Like, he knows who he is and where he's from, but doesn't know anything like how he got here or what he's doing or anything. Mm-hmm. But it feels familiar to him. And this is where he says 1:15 in the morning. That's something's going to happen.
And that bartender, that he was in a bunch of these shows like One Step Beyond, Twilight Zone, at the same time, Twilight Zone, a whole bunch of other anthology shows were running, and he was in a lot of them.
Yeah.
I would imagine for an actor back then,
what do you mean?
Good pickup work,
So this is where the engine stops. He's like, the engine stopped, and the second in command's like, "Oh, it's no big deal. We'll get it going again." He's like, "Are you crazy? We're in these waters. We'll be sitting ducks."
That's when he starts to have his breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And still, nobody's reacting like you would expect.
Right.
Right.
Which is really nice for making you kind of feel uneasy.
Right? Everyone's just so calm, and he's the only one who's like, "We're all gonna die." It's like, it's fine.
Well, he's the only one who knows.
Well,
No, I would expect in a situation where you're in the middle of Atlantic and there are chances of submarines coming out to get you, if somebody starts panicking, especially if they're from Frankfurt and the steward found a German Navy hat, you would start to think the word would spread. That's not a very big ship. So just the fact that everyone is just so dismissive of him as just being a crazy guy, it just adds to the uneasy feeling of everything.
So then it turns to 1:15, and he goes, And there's nobody. He can't find anybody. Everybody's disappeared. And he runs outside, and there's
the spotlight.
Spotlight.
Mm-hmm. Who does he see?
And he just continues to run around trying to get people to
abandon ship. Abandon.
Trying to do the good thing, wake everybody up, get them out of there, and they're just that shot right there.
Then they all just disappear.
I mean, it's Twilight Zone. You know something's up, but right there when you see that shot of everybody staring at him, kind of angry, really know.
Mm-hmm. Just running around the ship like a madman, screaming.
So he gets the binoculars. And who does he see?
Kaiser Soze.
Himself. Oh no.
No.
Dun dun.
There's such a good shot with the facial expressions of the guy that perpetually has been either confused or panicked versus the cold stare of that commanding officer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the person in charge that knows what they're doing.
Oh, yeah.
So they take out the command deck first.
Then we start seeing the rest of the folks on the ship.
Well, these are the views he had now when he saw the actual people. And what we saw in the past was him imagining their lives, essentially.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The guy's trying and failing to get into a lifeboat.
Yeah.
Yeah, the secretary burning alive.
That guy gets crushed.
Yeah, the nosy dude getting crushed. What got me about this scene is that's like real fire right outside that door.
Yeah.
Like legit.
Okay, guys, you stay in the room. We're going to set it on fire.
Yeah, with like real gasoline. Just pour, how are we going to do it? Just pour gas all over it. It'll be fine.
It's fine.
It'll be fine.
It's 1959. This is how we roll.
Right?
It'll be fine. Smoke a cigarette. It's okay.
Yeah, yep, exactly.
Look, Dave's got a bucket of water. It's all right.
Yeah. We'll just throw some sand on it. It'll be fine.
The shot of the kid's doll.
Yeah, and then her arm coming up trying to get it. Oh, that was a pretty. See if I can. I'm gonna get that shot. It's like, that's rough. That's pretty rough for a show this old.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was well done to get around the limits that they had to actually still get the effect in.
Yeah,
and see, Hollywood, you don't have to actually show it to get the point across.
Mm-hmm.
And they just dip back below.
Yep.
Completely routine. This guy comes in and he's kind of nervous. He's kind of second guessing things because he's discovered that it's a civilian ship. If at least not, if not fully civilian, there were civilians on board.
Right. He's like there were, women and children on board, and
hey, cannoli.
And this dude's just like, oh, you're soft, blah 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 blah.
You're a mystic. And this guy's pretty famous too. He's been in a few things.
He is in my favorite volcano disaster movie. It's called When Time Ran Out.
Yeah, this guy didn't even pretend to have a German accent.
Right?
He didn't even bother.
German? What? Where's German?
Really, that is a good call. Because there's been some shows where they've had somebody with a terrible accent. And if you can't do it, just go with your own.
I agree.
But Germans we have a German accent, but they sound normal to them.
Yeah.
So I don't have a problem with accents at all when they do this stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They did what was that movie Valkyrie, where they start in German and transition to English, and they just do English normal. It works.
And Hunt for October, they're like talking
Mm-hmm.
in Russian, and they like zoom in on their face. And
a lot of movies do that to forego subtitles, and
and it works.
Although it might have to do with Sean Connery's Russian accent being completely atrocious, even he admitted.
So not only does this guy have issues with like the morals of what they were doing, and the commander dismisses that, but he said something about the religious like context of it, and he dismissed religious what. It's like whatever. They kind of break it down to the point of whether God or not. Don't you think that there's some kind of punishment waiting for us?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, we have to relive their death over and over again.
It's like they died once. We will die 1,000,000 times for eternity.
Yeah, we'll have to relive it every night, the sinking of the ship for eternity. And that's when he was like, nah. And then he's like, well, maybe. And then it goes into the show.
That is the interesting thing about socialism is it destroys religion.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But he also explains to him, he's like, well, couldn't we warn them? And he's like, so they could radio their position, which is actually our position, so the enemy will know where we're at.
Yeah.
Hey, Sassy, how's it going?
Hey, Miss Sassy.
The thing about the U-boat warfare is in the very beginning, they would do that. They would give them warning, let them all get off on their lifeboats, and then they'd sink the boat. But the British couldn't accept those kind of losses, so as soon as they got word of where it was at, they would go hunt down the U-boat. So the U-boat stopped doing that. They stopped. And they didn't have the facilities to pick up survivors. So sometimes what they would do is they would wait until they were pretty far away, and then they would try to radio and say, hey, these people are here, and you can go get them or whatever. But it was terrible. But that's the nature of warfare. Sometimes you don't know if it's obviously a civilian liner, that's different. But this ship wasn't. This ship was most likely carrying war materials or going.
And that happened. That happened a lot.
These were ships going to the U.S.
Yeah, but they were going to go pick up war materials.
They were going to pick up stuff. So
they're legitimate military targets.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they would deliberately avoid putting civilian passengers on this, and the captains and crew understood the risk. That's what the concept of the merchant marine comes from,
Right.
Yeah.
Although the interesting thing, like another thing historically, is a lot of times, as long as they weren't in danger, or if it was European, they would wait around and see if there were survivors and take them in as prisoners, and I'll just let them drown. Like there was an interesting story. I think it was, this happened multiple times. It was a German and Japanese story where the troops were machine gunning survivors, and the ship's captain shot his own men.
Yeah,
because they were like, you can't do that to survivors.
Mm-hmm.
I love how it zooms in on his face, and he's like gets this same look that he's getting during the whole episode.
I do kind of like that they get kind of skirt on whether religion or other sort of metaphysical or whatever, or even just psychological. Maybe this isn't actually like his hell or whatever. Maybe it's him after the war. Every night he dreams this or something along those lines.
Yeah.
So regardless,
they leave it a little open-ended
that he's going to be suffering for much longer than the people he killed.
Yeah.
Well,
I like that.
It would have been a war crimes investigation.
Yeah.
And then, I'm just saying maybe they put him on trial and showed him, all the innocent people who weren't soldiers or whatever. And I mean, but then again, it could be religious too. Like I like how it's open ended like that. Like,
exactly.
Yeah, and there's even a story of they misidentified a ship, and it was actually a passenger ship, and they torpedoed a passenger ship by mistake.
Oh yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
In World War I, they torpedoed the Lusitania.
Yeah,
which was a known passenger ship. They'd already warned. They put out flyers in America and said, "Hey, don't get on this thing because we suspect it's carrying war materials, and it's gonna be fair game." And it was off the coast of Ireland. It almost made it to England when a U-boat torpedoed it and killed like 1,500 people.
Yeah,
and that's what really kind of drew America into the war. But there are people that now suspect. Back then, they were like, "Oh, it didn't have anything on it." There are people that now suspect, through records and other stuff, that it actually did have munitions on it, like explosives or something, to like secretly in order to help the war effort.
Well,
I mean, which wouldn't be surprising.
It was an open secret. The U.S. The only reason England, Russia, and China lasted as long. Well, Russia had eventually their winter eventually, but like the amount of supplies the U.S. gave them. I mean, yeah, we made a ton of money on our manufacturing and stuff, but the sheer amount of materials that we gave to those three countries and settling off of them was immense. Like, and we were involved in it, which is why the Germans and the Japanese wanted to sort of deal with us, but they didn't want to get us, wake the sleeping dragon or whatever they're saying, because they knew there was an industrial powerhouse there, and they were, World War I, they remembered that,
Right.
Yep. And remember, after like, and there's people who claim that Pearl Harbor was a setup, which I don't go for, but after Pearl Harbor, which was a devastating military attack, right? We were as equally capable military navally, I think, less than a year after that. That's how massive our industrial capacity was.
Yeah, they were. How they beat the wolf packs in the Atlantic was twofold. They were able to get enough ships together that they could cover the convoys. They had the Liberty ships. They were cranking them out like one a month or something. So you had so many of them. They would sink 5 and it didn't matter. We could just replace them. Whereas we were killing their subs at a faster rate than they could replace them and crew them. So we were just pumping boats out. The other thing is we started arming those Liberty ships. They started putting gun crews on them and depth charges and stuff with the little hedgehog ones that shoot out the side.
Mm-hmm.
And not all ships had it, but a vast majority of the ships in the convoy were armed to the point where you didn't need to have destroyers and battleships and all this other stuff going with it. The other thing is we made so many, they're called like mini carriers. They're an aircraft carrier, but they're small. And they only carry like, 10 or 12 planes or something. But they were ones that specifically were used to look for submarines. So once you had air cover, the submarines couldn't surface to recharge their batteries. You just kept the pressure on them all the time. And once the air coverage went all the way across because of these little mini carriers, that was it. They couldn't sink as much tonnage as they needed to affect the war negatively, and they were just getting found and killed.
Well, that was something the U.S. learned from Japan. Japan was a small nation, but they were dominant in the Pacific theater because they had an effective naval doctrine, and the U.S. learned essentially not just from them, but mostly from them. And that's where we developed our dominant naval doctrine we still follow to this day,
I guess so. The other thing that I guess I was confused about in this particular episode was when the guy looked at this hat, he was like, "This is war memorabilia." So at this point in time, is the war over?
No. This is during
1942. It had just kind of from the British perspective, it had been going on since September 1st, 1939, and they had already gone through the Blitz into 41. So 42, North Africa's already kind of gone down a little bit. The invasion of Crete, that whole thing. So they've been in the war for like 3 years by this point. America, gets in December of the 41. So it hasn't even been a year yet, unless it's like in December when this happened in the story. But so from the British perspective, they've been living this. They've been having the crap sunk out of their boats and they're rationing, and they're not sure at this point if they're even going to make it. So
okay. I guess that line in there for me was like, wait, I thought the war was still going on. Why are you saying more memorabilia? But
that line was why I started thinking maybe it's him years and years later being punishing himself because his hat's basically war memorabilia at that point.
And two uniforms for the Germans were, they used that style of uniform for a long time. So I guess he could have
could have been a World War I memorabilia or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
that-
he was a captain.
But it was specifically a U-boat.
yeah, because it had the little submarine dolphins or whatever on the top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely think between the two episodes, the second one was the better one for me.
Yeah, me too. I'd say that too.
The first one has like personal resonance to me, so that's kind of why.
Right.
Okay, I get that.
Yeah. Yep.
No.
Yeah, at 42, my grandpa was going through paratrooper training.
My grandpa, my mother's father, and his brother Pat, not Pete, Uncle Pete, right? They signed up for the Army because they didn't know how to swim and didn't want to have to learn how. They didn't want to be drafted to the Navy.
Let me guess.
Yeah,
they
there was
both
actually
went-
a lot of people that didn't know how to swim that would join like the Navy or the Army or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that's
you
one
know
of the
the-
first things they do in basic training in the Navy is teach you how to swim.
Yeah.
And
The
maybe
way
that's
my
how
grandfather
you
explained
chance.
it is they just throw you in the water. They don't even.
Yeah, pretty much. They give you a block of instruction though. The Army taught you how to swim too. Clint Eastwood was a swim instructor when he was in the Army in the 50s.
Yeah.
Well, my grandfather said he didn't learn how to swim until just before the invasions.
I was going to say, then they both went in because they didn't want to swim, and then they went to the on shore in D-Day.
Grandpa went on a
Just
D-Day.
learned how to swim.
Uncle Pete rather, he stayed at a base. Like they flew him in someplace. He got like a more abstract job. I don't remember the whole thing. My grandfather was an infantryman, and a tank gunner, and infantryman, and I guess I would have been a sniper. Now it's a sniper. Was an elite sharpshooter back then. And scout. My Uncle Pete was more like he did something in a base, not logistics, but something else. I don't remember the whole details, to be honest.
My old next door neighbor, when I was a kid, he had been in World War II, but he was a guard at the Panama Canal the whole time.
Oh,
so
wow.
He didn't see any action. He just was chilling down there in case somebody tried to pull something, I guess.
Yeah,
that's a
there were
strategic
reports that
waterway.
somebody, I think there were some like intelligence or reports that the Axis powers were thinking about trying to invade the U.S. through the Panama Canal.
Or blow it up.
Or blow it up, right? Yeah, because it was it shaved like months off of transport.
Well,
Otherwise, you had to go around the Cape.
Well, not just months, but until they invented supercarriers, basically, it's not considered or oil carriers that were even bigger than that. Transiting around the end of South America from ocean to ocean, like one of the oceans is literally pouring into the other one because they're actually different altitudes. And it's a very treacherous sea. It was never considered a safe passage unless you go way south and you're wanting to deal with the Antarctic stuff.
Right.
Yeah, so it was just the Panama Canal was a huge thing. Same with the Suez. To be able to connect those two. So, but yeah. Anyway, this was a pretty decent episode. Well acted. Like I said, like for most of the episode, I thought this dude was Captain Nemo from the Disney 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea actor. Yeah, both episodes were interesting. I think if you saw them for the first time, it'd be in the 50s. This is like new, groundbreaking stuff, thought-provoking. Sci-fi it's been around, but it's just now getting mainstream because of TV.
Yeah.
So
that 1950s to early 60s, there was so many anthology shows from all different genres: Western, sci-fi, supernatural, the Twilight Zone, Outer Limits, One Step Beyond, Wagon Train, all sorts of like these. That was a big thing, I guess, because it had the actors under lifetime contracts. They were like, okay, go do an episode of the Twilight Zone, just to,
right.
Just to do something different.
I kind of wonder if there was any little bit of blowback or anything from this episode, because it can be viewed to this second episode. It can be viewed a couple different ways. It can be viewed as, haha, the evil Nazi's getting his just dues and being punished. But he's, most of that episode, until the reveal of who he actually is, he's played as a sympathetic character. So it's still close enough after World War II that some people might look at that and not be happy that he's being played as a sympathetic character, that we should feel bad that he's suffering.
I think we'd have to ask somebody from that era,
Yeah.
because they didn't have Twitter back then, so who knows? Maybe there was a couple animators written.
They would have canceled Rod Serling. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure there was some sort of newspaper article written about this episode or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they weren't. It wasn't an article written for clicks. Like
Yeah,
it is now.
right.
Everything is monetized, and
Yeah, I'm not saying that there was like a blowback like we see today, but I can just imagine that there would be some veterans that would see this episode and get upset about it, and then they go down to the barbershop the next day and voice their opinion, and that's as far as it would go.
Well, that's how it used to be. That's how the world used to work. You didn't like something, you talked about it at the water cooler at work or to your barber or bartender. Now you just put it out there, and then everyone hits you back, and maybe you got monetized out of it somehow. You know what I mean? Like, I got my.
I'm sure some sort of up and coming article writer or something was like, I'm going to write an angry article about this
this
show.
would be an article of this why this show is sympathetic to Nazis, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. That's always what they put on there, and then you got to.
Well, I mean, technically, we're supporting Nazis in a certain conflict in the world right now. I mean, not that we're supporting them, but
I mean, but who knows? Things were so different back then. I can remember, like, my great grandmother watching a TV show and was like, "Oh, look at those! How can they wear that? They're almost, they might as well be naked." And they were wearing, like, you know what I mean, just like
a shorter dress.
Yeah, something like that.
You can see their knees.
Yeah, exactly.
The knees and the elbows. Oh my God! You can see her neckline. Oh.
You imagine the previous episode. That hussy, you can see her legs.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm talking about. That scene right there would have like really set her off.
That scene comes on, and Mama comes running in from the other room and tackles her kids out of the way.
Yeah, she's like, "Turn that filth off. You can't watch that." Yeah.
Shield your eyes, children.
I can see it. I can see
on the television.
I can see a vet saying, "Wait, is this guy a Nazi? Damn Nazi."
That thing with the women was not the Italian experience. When I was 10, I saw a movie called The Sword and the Sorcerer, which was the first time I ever saw a naked woman's breasts. And my mom was like, "Don't look at that." Her coming out. My grandma goes, "No, stop her. He's supposed to like those. Don't mess him up."
You don't want him to become the gay.
Base grandma. Yeah.
Well, my
grandma be like, "We don't want him to become the gays, so we need him to like those."
Well, my grandma watched my mom and my aunt become hippies, and she couldn't stand. Even though my grandmother smoked marijuana, she couldn't stand hippies. She just couldn't stand them. Yeah, yeah. She goes because before it was super potent. The old people all smoked it all the time.
Wait,
but
what's Gord King talking about? Did he just describe Velma?
Now, Velma's skirt would be too short in this context. She's showing too much leg, even though she's wearing a turtleneck and a long sleeve shirt.
Like the old Italian women, they would dress even when they're going to like the diner very classily. And my mom, my aunt, when they're hippies, they were dressing in like canvas rucksacks with unkempt hair. And my grandma was like, "We're not taking you to any damn restaurants."
I mean, there were some hippies like
looking like that.
I remember
like there's a limit. Like there's some like, yes, you can protest, but you don't have to look like you just crawled out of a garbage truck.
When I went to 8th grade, my teacher was an Italian, and my mom would send me in these really dumpy like V-neck t-shirts, and she looked at me and says, "Your mom was a hippie, wasn't she?"
Yes, ma'am, she was.
Yep, she was a hippie.
They made my mom come in with a t-shirt that wasn't a V-neck and said that, and of course the principal is also Italian. And my grandmother, when she found out what happened, she goes to my mom, "You embarrassed the family of both." She was yelling at her.
Lesson today, children. Modesty changes with the times.
Yeah. Well, of course, I was dressed shabbily, not so much casual. Like my grandma had no problem with like shorts. At times were clam digging, But see, it was because it was shabby clothing. You know what I mean? And you don't wear shabby clothing out in public, in the old Italian way. You just don't.
Yeah.
Yep. Or to church on Sunday, or on an airplane. or
Nope.
you know. Yeah. I remember the first time I ever flew. My my grandmother actually sewed a suit for me. Like made it, like got the
Really?
patterns and sewed it. Yeah, it was a
Wow.
horrible 1970s looking thing. Was mustard color and had like bell bottom pants, but it was a suit.
Oh,
Yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah, when
Oh,
I was
that's funny.
7, I wanted to be Godzilla for Halloween, and my mom bought this really shabby looking costume made of plastic. My grandmother slapped her, took the mask, hand sewed me a Godzilla costume with a tail, and it was like
nice.
they all wanted to carry my tail around, like you know.
Oh, that's great.
You couldn't do anything out in public shabby. Well, just you know.
Yeah. Well, guys.
See, I would be thrown against the wall and stoned as a witch, showing my arms. Oh my god!
Well, when I was in the 80s and playing Dungeons and Dragons, one of my aunts was really into the church stuff. And one day I'm in my room and the
The
priest
satanic scare with the D&D. Yup.
She sent the priest to see if I was possessed. 2 years later, the priest was leading Dungeons and Dragons groups because he liked the idea of hunting down evil. I explained to him that it was a good, good versus evil and all that. You know,
Living through that thing was easy to ignore because
you got caught up in it.
Yeah.
Well, guys, it's been a good one.
Yeah.
Thanks for being on. Does anybody have any thing they want to plug? Mando?
I am gonna be a busy bee. So tomorrow, instead of Friday for Sea of Thieves, we're gonna be doing Sea of Thieves tomorrow on my Twitch channel. Because I have an IRL thing that I completely forgot about, and I'm like, oh, this Friday? You mean this? Oh, okay, whoopsie. And then Thursday, I will be a guest on Roman of the Empire's channel. So we'll, Jacob, are you I forget, you're coming back, right?
Yep,
Yes?
yep, I'm coming back. Yep.
Yeah, I'll be there
Talking
as
about
well.
Ahsoka. All right, talking about Ahsoka.
Yeah.
I will probably have my Ahsoka review out hopefully by tomorrow. And then Saturday is going to be Literary Souls. Please, please, please don't miss this Literary Souls. It will be the last installment of the Summer of Narnia. We will be talking about the Silver Chair and the last battle of the Chronicles of Narnia. So please, I will have my amazing panel with Miss Martin Muses, my friend Smile a While, possibly Elijah, and maybe, hopefully, Megan from the Noob Reviews will be on as well. It will be spectacular. So don't miss out on that.
Cool. Sounds like fun. How about Matt?
So I'm currently working my way through Wheel of Prime. I should have an episode 3 full reaction and a short review for it up by tomorrow. A book review of The Great Hunt by the end of the week, I'm hoping. By the way, if you want to see something, instead of watching Wheel of Prime, go watch the old Twilight Zone. Or honestly, even the Twilight Zone in the 80s and early 2000s was actually pretty good too. It was only the one from 2 or 3 years ago that sucked. What else am I doing? I would have had a nice trailer reaction to Godzilla -1, but Toho blocked it, so I have to re-record that. But that looks good, so I will be on top of that. I want to do an article about the Highlander stuff, and Mando had one that you'd also go watch. With Henry Cavill and the dude who did John Wick involved.
Yes. I'm really hoping that Highlander series is going to be good. Well, I mean, it's got the John Wick director, and it's going to have Henry Cavill. If they do this wrong, I'm going to riot.
You're saying they're going to do some movies and TV show in between, so hopefully we'll get it. Like
a miniseries?
Well, so they're thinking they're going to do they're kind of torn between doing it as like a 3-part trilogy like Star Wars, but also having shows in between or something. But it's all going to be like a big continuity. Everything's going to go into each other.
Oh, it's like the MCU.
Kind of.
Well, it ends in The Gathering. He wants to end it with The Gathering and not make the mistake they made originally, which was have The Gathering in the first movie. Say, wait a minute, we can make money, and then blow.
Yeah, they want to do it right. That was the main point of the article. Is they're hoping Cavill and then the director and the writer are all huge Highlander fans, and so they understand, oh, this is where they went wrong, and they're wanting to do it right. So Yeah, I've got a video about that on my YouTube channel. So thank you for shouting my YouTube channel out.
Hey, everyone, you do a lot of cool videos over there.
Thank you.
They're going to need to get some Fago sponsorship for that gathering. In with
Beard,
the Juggalo jokes.
Beard, you have anything you want to?
Actually, I do. In the middle of the show, got an invite from Roman to join y'all on Thursday to talk about Ahsoka. So you can look forward to doing that with y'all there. And kind of a big announcement. Last Saturday, R2 the Icky and JT Gunn asked me to be their third co-host for their Saturday shows after the weekend.
Cool.
Nice.
So I'll be recurring there. I don't know if it's official co-host or just recurring guest. We haven't really settled on it yet, but you'll see me there next. Let's see, on the 16th is the next episode, and we'll have Joker voice on, and we'll be talking fan casting for Thundercats.
Ooh,
cool.
There you go.
Ooh.
Did you ever see the Thundercats fan trailer?
I don't think so.
I will link it in the private chat.
All right.
Shieldwall, you got anything?
Just Thursday is. I can only think that far ahead. I got a couple like other personal appointments and stuff coming up, so I'm trying to keep it all straight in my head. But Thursday, Roman of the Empire's channel, Ahsoka review. I still got to watch that episode, I guess.
Oh, it came out tonight, or it came out like during the show. So
yeah, that's what I mean. So I got to sit down and watch that. But,
that's what I'm doing next.
Same.
Hopefully, I don't know, but maybe Shin Hati will do something cool. So we'll see.
Cool. Alrighty. Well, Saturday I'm going to be talking about Alfred Hitchcock and his movies and his just Alfred Hitchcock. And then next Tuesday I'm going to be actually doing a newer movie, the Captain Master and Commander. So forget what year that was.
I just
that
got
was
that
2003.
book. I just got that book like the other day, so I'm so excited.
Yeah, that better block out like 5 hours for that movie.
Yeah. But yeah, and I will be on Roman's show. So cool. So thanks everybody for coming and hanging and talking about this great show, and thanks to the chat for hanging out with us. And we'll see y'all next time. Bye, y'all.
Bye.